Hello and welcome to Bring Me to Quiz with me, Andy Quirk, also known as Angelabra.
And hello, it's me, Tom, also known as Aunty Ginger, and welcome to the first in a 29-hour series of...
They're just getting longer and longer. It's long-form content now, guys. Strap in.
No, I think we've had a chat and we're gonna try and be focused. Up to us talking on Tuesday, the following week.
Yes. I enjoy Natter. I'm good. The sun is shining. The gigs have been good. All is going quite well. How are you?
Sun is shining. Weather is hot. I've not heard that in years. Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you. I'm slightly not demob happy because that would make me feel like I was going to have a weekend off or something. But I'm a bit higher energy because I've filled a gig gap. And if we'd have done this last night, I was really fuming. And I'm not going to name the venue in question, but short version, a venue that I was supposed to be working at on Friday has closed, seemingly without telling any of the acts, and I have 3 dates with them. So, and I won't be as professional as to name and shame, but fuck you, that South African place in Northwich. And if I see them pop up again, I'll be fucking making sure that I don't take any bookings from them.
We'll be marking this podcast as containing adult language, just to make that clear.
As it never, pretty much every episode always has.
Very true. But yeah, I quite enjoyed your message. Like, some venue had the audacity to go bankrupt. How dare they?
Look. Times are hard. Venues are on their arse, right? But 9 venues this year have either closed or stopped doing drag. So if you imagine I get 3 dates per venue,
yeah,
that is 26 dates to fill. Is that right? 27 dates to fill.
Yeah,
right? That is a lot. Thank you, maths teacher.
That's all right.
But that is a lot of dates to sort out. And I'm not having it anymore. Like this, I am not gonna put all my eggs in the fucking bar basket because this is really getting on my tits. Pubs are on their arse, and I get it. But all you have to do is send a message saying, "Soz, babe, we're closing." This is when it's happening. And another one did it in a couple of weeks ago. I had a message from someone saying, "We've had a notice on our pub. We go in mid-May. We're giving you as much notice as we are able to. This is when we found out. Good luck getting a replacement gig. If we can help you, let us know." And that's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's where I'm done. What's going on in your world?
Well, I haven't had anything cancelled, which is quite exciting. And thanks to my wonderful world of playing pubs no one else would ever think to play, they've sustained. Like, I did a Friday night. I was in Doncaster, of all places, right on the edge of Doncaster, which is great because it was like 30 seconds off the motorway. That's how I judge whether a venue's any good anymore. Has its own car park, which I do love, and it was a pub. It was a nice pub. It wasn't like falling to bits kind of pub. It was like a pub I think sold food. It had that vibe. I do a lot of those. And they definitely put on entertainment quite regularly, but usually it's like a singer, that kind of thing. And they, most importantly, point out not a gay bar, because they never are in my world. And I set everything up there, and it was really busy. It was really, really busy. Like, I thought, I wonder if this is the right pub as I pulled in, and then I just saw sort of hordes of women going in, hardly any men. I'm like, okay, this is it. This is the one. And they done
jeans and a nice top.
Yes, absolutely. One of them tried to do a clothes swap with me at the end of the night because she wanted to go partying and she liked my outfit more than hers. But I said, I've just bought this sequin top. You're not having it. Also, it's a bodysuit. You don't want what's going on beneath under the water of this iceberg.
Maybe
it'll be quite sweaty. The but there's an example where a pub does everything right. They had their posters. I always like that, huge A3s of me all over the pub. They had obviously trailed it online. They'd used the video I'd made them. I make people videos now, as well as a poster. And it's just me going, oh, I can't wait to see you, etc., etc. And they were like, oh my God. They're like, how much is it? I'm like, pub's paying for it. And they were like, that made them very happy. No money was changing hands. And so, yeah. And then they were really up for it. They played all the games. They were up on their chairs within the first half an hour for when I was doing the sing-alongs. They really like get up, wiggle your knees. I had the entire pub doing that. And importantly, the pub filmed it. And so, of course, they've now got content of various parts where everyone's going absolutely ape in there. And it was, that to me was an example of how a venue makes something work. Because it doesn't happen every night for them. They have
No,
entertainment probably every Saturday night, but normally it's, a singer, which
I
is
think like it's it is refreshing when they give a shit. So the gays at the tavern in Denston, which is very near Alton Towers, apparently.
all right.
They rang and they were like, "We've not had drag before, so they'll love it. It's a young crowd. This is when the pub gets busy. You've not got a dressing room." And I was like, "Okay, you're giving me all the heads up at the start. This is what you'll need with PA equipment. We'll look after you," that kind of thing. And instantly, post went out on their social media. They sent me a message confirming all of my asks. As soon as I got there, I very much felt like, okay, they care. And I think for those pubs, they've got to it has to be busy for them. They have to. They're taking a financial risk, so I think when they actually give a shit and they push stuff, it is really refreshing.
It helps that my lot. Sometimes I bring up my own bottle for like shots, like really stupid little shots that are to, if you get up and dance early in the night, I will give you drinks. It's proper like classical conditioning. Have a bone. And everyone then does it. But these guys said, "Oh, we can supply some shots." I'm like, "Oh, great, wonderful." And they brought over a tray of like 30 shots of like what I presume was like, God knows what. It looked like WKD. I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it was better than that. But luminous colours kind of drinks in shot glasses. I'm like, this is helpful. This has basically cost you very little, but it's going to make the world a difference, because not only can I give one to the occasional dancer, everyone who wins a game can have one. By the end of the night, I was giving away for absolutely no reason at all, because I still had loads left. And yeah, it's really supportive, I think.
I mean, congrats on your successes, which is demonstrated in a couple of ways. One, the photo behind you, for those that are watching, Angela was like, "Let's have a photo of a room I'm in looking busy," and it looks nice and busy, which is great. What venue was this?
This was Kidsgrove Town Hall. This is a little. Well, it looks huge, and it was big, but it wasn't as big as perhaps we thought in the photos. It's always a bit of a, when you see photos and you see a stage that big, you think, "Oh my God, how big is this?" But actually, it was reasonable. I'd say like a school hall. It really had school hall vibes to it as well, with these trestle tables in their columns, and they drank like fish. But this was Bop and Bingo, and so this was ticketed. And unusually for Bop and Bingo usually takes a lot of risk, which is why it's sometimes tricky. But in this particular case, they asked Cameron, who runs it, how much for the night, and so he gave them a very decent price, which meant everyone got paid properly. And they said, yeah. And then they ticketed it for nearly 20 quid a head. And, which proves, like, nothing happens in Kidsgrove. And also that, if you put the welly in, you put in the effort, then you can get a result. And it was, as a count of the budget, like, although there's just me up there jiggling away, I am not the only member of entertainment there. Like,
well, I can see And it doesn't matter if you can't see the image because we're going to describe it. It's very accessible, this podcast.
Very, yeah, audio
I
description.
can see a topless man, or what I assume is a man, that is a naked butler. Am I right?
Yes, we have a buff butler. Butler in the buff. It depends when we see the butler, they're either a buff butler or a butler in the buff, depending on how buff they actually are.
Oh, that sounds cool.
And the guy who's in the picture, you can only just see, he's done it regularly. Called Ash. He's very nice. He takes direction really well. He puts up with me shouting at him all the time to give people drinks and things like that. And then to the other side of my head is you probably wouldn't clock them as a drag queen because it's very far away for a start, but they look pretty realistic. That's Delilah, who's by the door, who is a newer queen based in Glossop. And so Delilah was in charge of calling back the numbers to me to the stage because normally I run out and check these things, but anyone who can see his picture sees that's not really practical when you're up on an actual stage and you've got 100 women in a row.
Kidsgrove, who can trust them?
Exactly.
They may be lying.
Someone stole one of my willies, to be fair, in head, shoulders, knees, and cock. Someone ran off with one of my inflatable knobs. I was not happy.
Head, shoulders, knees, and cocks. How does that
elbows, work? Sorry, head, elbows, knees, and cocks, because you put the cock between your elbows and you put it between people's knees. If you don't know what I mean, there's a video online right now, my drag queen diary from it. Except it's now called Secret Diary of Bingo Cool Girl, because everything is branded to the show name this summer. It was really good. And people had a really good time. But I'll tell you one story. Which I agree. Because yes, we have these buff butlers, and we always have one who is reliable. But buff butlers on the whole are not reliable people. They are guys. They're not.
I love that statement.
They're really not. They are people who go, oh yeah, I'd like to do that. Because bear in mind, they're not strippers. Strippers tend to be members of agencies. They're trained.
They've not developed an act yet.
No, they are simply a bloke who probably goes to the gym, sees a little ad from Bob Bingo saying, we need this. And they go, I can do that. I'm confident. Women love me. And then the amount of them who lose their nerve before the show even begins, they either don't show up or they show up and run away, especially when Cameron presents them with a tiny apron and says, that's it. There's no shorts, there's no thong. It's just your modesty is covered, but people will see.
There are a way of, I believe there is a way that gets tucked in, though. Not an Angela show.
It's quite, but I know, some wear shorts. But the point is, it's legal. Because you can't see anything, and it's certainly not winging around underneath. Well, famously, once it did, it hit me in the face. But the one this time, not Ash. Ash was very good. Another guy came because it's a big event. We're going to have two. Karen had got him last minute. God knows where from, and he turned up and he looked wasted. The guy looked like he'd taken some stuff, maybe drunk quite a lot. Maybe nerves, really worried. So he turns up, half cut.
He has some paracetamol.
And the venue are like, who is this hobo in an apron? And because he's slightly unshaven, he's not buff. And it's like, what is this? And then they start talking to Cameron about it. At which point the butler comes out of the door ready to serve some drinks, but he's holding his own drink. He's having a drink, which, you can have a drink, but you're not meant to be necking it while you walk around.
Yeah.
Trips over and it goes all over the floor, and they're just he leaves. Cameron's like, mate, I don't think you're cut out for this, at least not tonight. You need to go.
Was he good looking?
No. It was one thing I really liked about him backstage, I did talk to him briefly, and he looked at me and he goes, oh, I love Lily Savage. They're the funniest drag queen there ever was. And I was like, you have good taste. I actually, because that's the kind of direction I come from with what I do. And so I appreciated that. But beyond that, it's just funny. I would never want to be Cameron, who runs Boff and Bingo, because he's a manager he has to get. He knows I will always be there, but second drag queens often don't turn up. Some for good reason. They feel like they haven't been paid enough. But buff butlers in particular have had such a track record that every week we were on a group chat. Welcome to blah 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 and blah blah blah. They'll be our butlers this week, and by the next day, blah 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 has left the chat. It's like off you go. Go and find another one. Oh, who'd be a manager? I'm really happy that I just get all this stuff done.
Well,
I'm a one woman army when it comes to Angela.
I might enjoy the audition process of trying to find you some butlers in the buff. If you want, I can put out a post and say, please send me pictures of you wearing nothing but an apron.
You do not want to do that. You'll end up on Drag Race and it'll all come out.
That wouldn't be illegal.
No, it would not.
It would be questionable. But I would genuinely send you all the pictures.
Great.
Yeah, you're welcome. Maybe this isn't the side hustle, but congratulations on your successes. It's nice to see you in a very full venue, and you were telling me before we recorded this that you're making a fortune now. So, sugar daddies and sugar mums beware. And
it's very true. We've had the end of the tax year. I saw your photo of all your receipts in a shoebox, which I hope that was a joke. That's the kind of thing you see in films.
So, I'm almost. My accountant wouldn't agree. I'm almost digital now. In that I have a particular card that I use for all my expenses, and that goes into a database which has auto rules set up. So some of it does itself, and the invoices are all done on an app, and that data can be transported into the database. So that's semi-digital as well. There are manual ones that have to get put in, like the gig I'm picking up on Friday, for example, is very much going to be a cash job. So I put those in manually. But
I was paid £10.
No. I couldn't live with the anxiety. So
it's not worth it.
No, it's not. So I just declare it all. The issue I have is that, I'm on the road a lot. So I do need to collect, and I do collect physical receipts when I'm on the road. So that box is genuine, in that I've got to put that data somewhere. So I take photos of them, I scan them in, and it's fine. But that normally takes me a day or two.
Yeah.
And I do it once a year because I'm not one of those people that's very good. It's to do with where I am on the spectrum. I'm not one of those people that can actually fucking, do it bit by bit. But yeah, it's been a good year. I'm glad that my taxes are sorted.
Mine aren't. I do my own tax returns, so that's fun. And this is a year where, because of Absolutely Dabulous being my own thing, there are expenses beyond petrol, which has always been easy to claim. But with Bop and Bingo, of course, here's some money, thank you very much, done. Whereas Abdab prizes, there's receipts from Shein, for my inflatables and whatnot. So yeah, I'm getting grips with that, because a lot of the time, I'll be honest, I didn't even bother putting it down because I was like, this is a headache. But I have to now because it's substantial. So and at some point, I might actually have to I don't at the moment. I might factor in Edinburgh, because at the moment Edinburgh is a loss. So if anything, I'm helping them by not talking about it in depth and trying to write off like other expenses against Edinburgh.
Why wouldn't you put that through?
Because Edinburgh to me is a hobby. It's a joke. But at this point,
it's business. Part of building Angela.
Under the rules I once read, I think if I declared Edinburgh 3 years in a row, they'd be like, this isn't a business. And that'd be it. But the
whole picture.
But it's different now. It's different now. The reason being that prior to at least the last couple of years, it hasn't been. Like, a comedy never made any money. So it was a job in name only. But now it is a major part of my income. It is valid. But I'm now at the point where Edinburgh breaks even anyway. So I can put it in, but it actually makes very little difference to anything. So
I think of it as a trade fair.
Yeah, you would, because you spend 5 times as much as I do. To round to the point. Like, yeah, I did. I even made a pie chart. I haven't put it up, but this year I put in what I'd made from my tutoring, from supply teaching, and from Angela. And Angela takes up 2/3 of the income now. And that's just to say that tutoring is probably the other third. Supply teaching is like 4%. It's tiny. I hardly do it. Supply teaching is the hobby. So it just keeps my toe in the water because I'm qualified. So there's it's good. And I checked my Ed Fringe receipts. I've sold another 4 tickets. That's four.
Woo!
4 tickets, all at £12.50. So it's I'm pleased with that. Like, long may that continue. Well done, everyone who just has the option of paying between £5 and £12.50 for my tickets, because it's a pay what you want type of show, and they are all hitting the top, which can't complain. I can only assume they are already fans and they want to contribute that way. Then they're clearly not randoms just having a punt. So,
well, and I think these are the ways that people have to support art.
Yes, because I don't ask for money at any other time. You can come and watch any of the, mine, the Abdab bingos are all free, like, because the pub pays. And, Bop, you would have to pay for a ticket. But, and my comedy shows generally are either very cheap or free.
Yeah. Well, I think good for you, good for us. And, fucking put things through. And I mean, if you saw my expenses, you would cry. But I also work like a dog. So,
yes, I mean, it is your full-time job, and you buy, of course, what you buy. This has always been a sort of a thing, and it's not something I even bother with. Is Aunty Ginger has what I would define costumes.
yeah,
You wouldn't go to Tesco wearing what you've got, not unless you really wanted to stir things up. Whereas most of what Angela wears, anyone could wear. They're high street. They're very high street, and there's a blurred line between what counts as a costume. I know this from the classic case of ABBA, who had to accentuate their outfits for tax reasons.
really, that's
true. They had to count as costumes. But when, you can barely see it in this picture. This is a very lovely dress. It's from Topshop, but it was from a charity shop, and it cost me £3. So I'm not particularly bothered about claiming, because your outfits cost a fortune compared to what I spend on clothes.
What we are learning is Angela's minted. She doesn't need to declare her expenses. Sugar mums beware. She is, she could take you to dinner.
Minted and powered by Vinted. That's Angela, bro.
Oh, good for you. Well, I'm really pleased to see how you've built it, because it takes a journey, I think. But this is it, where we're not popular on the circuit, we just go and do our thing, and we find money elsewhere.
Are you saying I'm not popular on the circuit? How dare you? Just because nobody wants to book me on the circuit, that does not mean I'm not popular. It does.
Okay, so it's actually popular. I mean, I don't know anyone who has a nasty thing to say about you. Everyone I've ever spoken to loves you. I should qualify that statement. All I'm saying is neither you or I are in the category of, well, let's just say certain queens that are booked 4 times in a 5-day weekend at Via.
Yeah. But I wouldn't want that. That's the thing.
No, I wouldn't.
It's more interesting to do lots of places. 2, it does, as you say, if a bar goes to the wall or cuts its budget, you're not as exposed. And also, it's not very ambitious.
Well, I mean, look,
it feels like a job. It feels like you may as well be working in, not an office, obviously, but you know what I mean? If it's the same place of work, week in, week out, I always like to feel like I'm progressing. I want to feel like things are changing.
A queen I won't name once said to me, "Oh, I don't have to travel around. I work for Stonegate." And I'm like, well, yeah, enjoy that mindset for now. Because, if a couple of those Stonegate venues ever go to the wall, or their entertainment budgets get cut by head office, then you're fucked. It's good to de-risk your situation by putting your hands in many pies. and I think
Yes.
you're doing it fabulously.
And then we have private bookings as well,
and
which I have 2 this weekend. It's funny, I'll look like I don't really have gigs this week. I do, but 2 of them are not for the commoners. I'm doing a 19th birthday one night, and then I'm doing a hen do the next.
Sorry.
What's going on? Those who don't know, Tom has unplugged and he is going looking round his house. I feel like the dog has done something.
Yeah, the dog is kicking off unnecessarily.
Oh.
And I'm just like, I'm not here for it. So, in fact, I'm actually going to move out of his way because, how dare I try and record a podcast? And, I love Percy dearly, by the way, fans. Don't stop feeling sorry for my dog. It's just, he picks his moments. He's like, now you're trying to actually do something. Now I'm going to start making noise. That seems to be his vibe today.
So. Percy, Yapsum, and the biting grief. There you go. That's
he's never ever bitten.
I know, but it rhymes with lightning thief. That's a reference for anyone who loves children's books and films.
Right, I'm now in an area that I'm less likely to get disturbed. So, what else?
That was all about us.
Yeah, it's all about us, everybody.
Woo!
So, I'll tell you what. Let's
comedy.
Pardon?
Oh, spice it up if you want. I thought we were going to talk comedy.
Oh, let's talk comedy.
Your little journey down south.
My journey. I did. Well, I'm always in the south, but
Yeah,
I did a gig at the Museum of Comedy, which is a legendary venue that I've only been to once before.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I went was a competition where Mad Ron, who I'm sure you've heard of.
I booked Mad Ron back in the day. I've booked everyone, trust me. Yeah. They've been going for more than 5 years. They've played one of my nights in London.
Yeah, so Mad Ron was like getting his start, and now he fills decent sized venues in Edinburgh. So it's nice to see how people's journeys get on. So yeah, I went and saw Mad Ron there, and it's a fabulous venue, gorgeous green room, and real sort of there's something in the walls, about a bit like feels like what it's like doing the RVT from a drag perspective. You just feel like the history in the room, So that was really fab to do. I entered a competition called the Not So New Comedian of the Year, which basically means if you're over 35 and you're not successful as far as comedians would regard you as being successful, hey-ho, that's the competition for you. So there was supposed to be 12 contestants. 10 of us turned up, 2 cancelled.
Wonderful.
3 went through, of which I was not one of them. Which is more embarrassing. I feel like if just one person wins, then it's like, okay, fair enough. But when 3 go through and you don't win, it feels a lot more embarrassing. And then there is a wild card, but we don't know who that will be yet. It was quite funny. The guy who sort of was running the event was like, look, I know when you're a not so new comedian that some of you don't have any ambition and there's low stakes. So don't slag us off on social media just yet, because you may end up being in the wild card. So that was their way of making sure that we didn't slag them off for not going through.
How was it decided? Was it judges? I assume it was judges.
No, so there were two people from industry who had a vote, and then it was, bring your mates and they can vote for 2 acts.
That's how you bring a crowd in.
So they vote for their friend, and then they vote for one person who is actually funny.
Yeah.
And some people, probably the least funny guy brought about 10 people in.
He's probably the newest and most novel, and therefore people are interested.
There was another guy who was quite terrible, who had several friends, and a lesbian who had a couple of friends. I think there were 3 of us that are queer, and the rest that were very white. The audience was very white and very boomer, and they did not get me at all.
Very boomer. It was. Oh well, I suppose it's a not so new comedian. Yeah, you're not going to get, apart from grandkids, or your children coming to watch. I suppose it is going to be older. I guess. Yeah, that's
They
a good
were not
point.
interested in me at all.
Was it? Was it a vibe from when you stepped on stage, or was it with the material? Was it the look or the blueness? Is my question.
I think I was already in my head by the audience, and I was like, I don't look like or sound like any of the acts that are about to go up.
No.
And look, I was getting laughs, right? I didn't bomb. I didn't embarrass myself. I didn't manage my time very well. That was my other reflection. So when you only have 5 minutes, you really need to fucking get to the point.
Yes.
And I could spend 5 minutes doing a toast. So it was very difficult to, within that job, you've got to sort of tell them who you are.
Yep.
And I think when you're a cabaret act and used to doing an hour, I have a whole hour to convey the message of who Aunty Ginger is. I can come out with a strong first few jokes, but then we have the luxury of time.
Yes.
It's interesting, a few years ago, 5 minutes would have been a challenge for me, but not now.
Would you say that the content of 5 minutes, because I know what a 5 minute set looks like usually. It depends whether it goes down the British road or the American road in my head. Like the British road can be, I've got a story and it'll be 5 minutes and it'll be peppered with little jokes. And then there'll be the one you really hope hits at the end, because that will be the thinking bit when you go, oh yeah, oh, that's hilarious, isn't it? Oh my God. Yeah. I can't believe life's like that. Or the American approach, which is just one-liner after one-liner after one-liner. And they might be on a theme. They won't be random, but they are more like the difference between a British and an American sitcom. And in a classic American sitcom where every line is a joke, compared to the British ones where, compare Big Bang Theory to Peep Show. That's what I'm talking about. Like the two are so different.
Everyone took a slightly different approach. But it definitely felt like within those 5 minutes, you had to sort of say who you were, give an idea of what your comedy was about, and get a clap at the end. I did a very adequate job, but I sort of knew that I wasn't gonna place. I was just like, it relies on everyone. Tell you the other thing, a couple of the interesting things that really amused me. One was there was a guy in the first half who did a really decent job that I won't name, but if someone was at this event, they'll know who I mean. He had another gig to go to, so just said at the interval, "Do I have to stay?"
Love it. That's a new act comedian.
And he left, just thinking, well, the work will do the talking. And he did a good job. But then the host, when they were like summarizing all of the acts, they know who to vote for, they were like, well, name of comedian, mustn't have liked you very much because he left at half time. So instantly, if anyone was going to vote for him, immediately will have lost their votes because he pissed off. And a lot of the other comedians were like, what a stupid move.
Yes, because also it's particularly in a competition, and certainly like on a new act comedy night, it's disrespectful to go, oh, you've watched me, but I'm not going to watch you. It's, in the world of professional comedy and, drag cabaret and whatnot, totally acceptable because you're there to do a job, you do your job and you go. But when it's a new act thing and you're all supposed to be appreciating each other and it is a bit of a group effort because maybe you've all brought some people, it's really rude, which is why London usually has the stayer rule for such things. If they don't have a bringer, I hate bringers, they at least have a stayer rule, which means, you can't just bugger off, unless you are, I've done nights where you've got someone very big and like they want to go and whip this stuff out round three nights that night, and you're like, well, it'd be great to have them on the lineup,
Yeah, but I think that's that but know your place.
Yeah.
And this is also about building relationships. I mean,
Yes.
I feel like I'm back where I was when I was starting out drag. With like when I was doing Wig Wars in 2018, and we got to do 5 minutes. All of the night was about get to know your bar staff, your bookers, your facts, make relationships, because I'm still sharing posters with some of those people now. And some of them have, quit, and some of them have died, and some of them have, well surpassed me. But, I'm sort of doing the same again to get into the comedy world. And it's a bit frustrating because sometimes I feel like I want to leapfrog, but what's interesting is there are a lot of people who are very used to doing this 5 minutes and have their 5 minutes, and they know where every joke goes. And I'm like, no, I'm used to doing so much longer. To just have a set 5 is really challenging.
Yeah.
But I didn't embarrass myself. Said lovely things to the people who had me. They'd have me back probably in some kind of context, but I know it's a tricky one because when I look at some of the people who've like hired out the space, some of them are people who I was at with Edinburgh Fringe, and I'm like, well, could I be going to the Museum of Comedy and saying, can I hire your venue out to put Finding Splashman in there or Ginger's Problem in there? And I suppose I technically could.
I'm sure you could, but whether you would actually get the turnout you deserve is a different matter. Like you've got the 2 brewers in the bag for one, haven't you? Was that right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong? You have, yeah, I got that right. Which has, are you using the back room there? Yeah, I mean that's perfect because it's its separate room. It's enormous. You have a proper stage, and quite frankly, your audience are comfortable there. Like, why would?
Completely. I mean, I got asked again if I wanted to do the Royal Liverpool theatre again at the Royal Northern Liverpool but it's not really Liverpool, it's in Prescott. It's the Shakespeare North place, which is where I did a preview last year, and they wrote to me saying, would you like to come back? And I was like, I'd love to come back, but A, you're giving me a Saturday night, so I'd have to physically cancel a gig for it, and I've already got 3 previews, but B, Prescott ain't Liverpool. So it's a tough gig. Like, I really broke my back last year just trying to get the seat sold that I did.
I remember all that. Like, I mean, that is the thing about when you're doing a preview or tour show, whatever you want to call it, really, depending how far advanced it is, that a lot of it does fall on you. The wonder of festivals is, of course, they provide some publicity, and in theory, that should be enough. It isn't, particularly in the case of Edinburgh. But taking it out of your prime time is, a challenge. I mean, I'm going to link across to me that I got Buxton Fringe confirmed this week. I finally got my dates, and the 12th, 12th of July, I'm now at the Working Men's Club at Buxton Fringe. That, I think, is the biggest venue in Buxton, at least for comedy. It certainly is. It's over 100 seats. And they have given me 10 p.m. on a Saturday there on the first weekend of the Fringe. And I'm like, I can't really ask for more. And it also fits very neatly with exactly how I designed the show to be a later night show, because I knew there's no way that Underground would give me 8 p.m. in their flagship venue, because they attract some really big names in comedy. It'd be ridiculous. But I can sit on the M because most stand-ups don't want 10 p.m. So I'm assuming that had something to do with it. And then the second date, because they offered 2. Well, I've got 2. It's the 22nd, which is like a Tuesday at 8:45, and I was like, that's a bit weird. But I was like, but actually, I knew I wouldn't get 2 weekends, and in some ways, I'm kind of glad because I have got other things booked in. But it's the better way round, because provided the Saturday night goes well, it gets reviewed. Everything at Buxton Fringe gets reviewed. So it gets reviewed. Word of mouth is powerful. And so the people who come on the Tuesday are likely to be a much more deliberate audience. Like, I hope some people will come on Saturday because they'll be like, we've heard of Angela Arbor. She does it every year. It's on really late. Why not? And let's give it a go. And then hopefully if they think, actually, that was pretty decent, there's another chance for people to go and see it when they aren't the casual what's on tonight kind of crowd. You would actually have to make a commitment to do it. So I think the Tuesday one will be much smaller than the Saturday one, but I don't think it's any less enjoyable. It was July 12th and July 22nd are both at the Working Men's Club in Buxton, which also now means, thanks to that, they've freed up the weekend because I had it reserved. This has been the bane of my life, having to reserve slots for what if I get that date. The weekend before 22nd, so like 19th, 18th, something like that. I can now go and do Morecambe and Carnforth, which are right next to each other, that weekend. So that helps me out.
I'm going to take a look and I'm going to come and see it.
Do come along. Hey, I've got Sheffield this week. It'll be long gone by the time anyone hears this, but it's on tomorrow. We're recording on Tuesday. It's on Wednesday night. I've sold 50% of the tickets. I won't say what that equates to because it's a small room, but. But it's not broom covered. It's not PBH. But shade. But the good news is, like, I mean, it sucks in a way. Like, I've been trying to put on these Sheffield showcases, and the last two have had to be cancelled because the numbers were pathetic. One of them, the act was actually ill, but it was almost a godsend because the numbers were so small. And the one before that, they just didn't sell. Whereas mine has, and that's because I'm not targeting the same old places. Although I put up adverts on the community boards and the comedy sites, etc. I've done bingo in Sheffield, and that's where most of the people are coming from. And a shout out to Emma Amazing, who is coming with a friend. So as a drag queen, so she'd come in to support, which will be nice. So yeah, that's a promising start because that will be the only one I would class as a preview because. I don't know how it's going to go yet, but I'm hoping it goes well and I don't have to change it. So, yeah.
Amazing. Spicing up a little bit, I know we've had an anonymous gig gone wrong story submitted. So, yeah, we're having a little debate whether we do like a muffled noise, and it's my name is anonymous. But no, I'm going to read the anonymous gig gone wrong story, and we can discuss it and dissect it, which is
wonderful.
Bring me to queers.
This woman was giving me shit from start to finish and was repeatedly being shut down in a funny way. In the end, I asked, why is she so angry? Is it because she hasn't climaxed to a satisfactory need in a while? Or is it because you look like Martha from that Netflix program? Brackets, she genuinely did. Not a weight reference, full stop.
Mm-hmm.
And she was being a cunt, to be fair. During the midway break, she was outside with her friends crying, and it completely killed the mood. I love that there's beeping outside. Hey, and her group were the only 30 people in. So the second half was just her friends walking in and out and comforting her. The most awkward gig ever.
Bring me to queers.
Amazing!
I really liked that story.
Oh my word. What do you do with that?
Let me get back. I'm back in the room.
But they never got to the bottom of why this one was so objectionable in the first place.
No, I didn't ask questions. Just let the story unfold. I mean, I think what's happened here is something that has happened probably a lot more to me than it has to you, but where you have occasionally upset somebody.
I wouldn't know.
You've never upset anyone?
Probably. But No, not to. I mean, I must have, but I can't recall a time where that has happened. I mean, there was that woman who hated me, but that's because she saw me and looked angry and left. So that wasn't really my doing. But
that's just, a phobia of cross-dressers.
I don't like being called a cross-dresser. It's the only time the only time I'm a cross-dresser is when my dress doesn't fit. That's my line for that.
I would call myself a cross-dresser. Like, I don't mean it in the...
This is the problem. There's a lot of language there. Not to detract from what you're talking about. It's the same with people calling themselves a sweet transvestite. And it's tricky because there are certain connotations which are historic. I don't like transvestite because it makes me think of Rocky Horror. Now, I know it doesn't make everyone think of Rocky Horror, but it's tricky, as does cross-dresser. It's probably something to do with my era. Like, it's there was a lot.
Well, I mean,
there was a lot less kindness around when I was.
This is the whole thing about language, right? I have not been a fan of the word queer for years and years and years and years and years because of how I was raised with it. It was an extremely negative, derogatory way of describing somebody.
Yeah.
And I also didn't like that I was being told to reclaim a word that made me feel really uncomfortable. I'm less asked about it now. I don't typically use it. I've used it once in this podcast, and the very name of the podcast includes it. So I don't necessarily have a big issue with it now. But relationships to words make a big difference. But I think this is the point, right? Intention's relevant, and how we feel about it is relevant. So I wouldn't describe you as something you don't want to be described at. I apologise. But
well, it's not your intention. That's just it. It's just the association language. I mean, I also, because of the Rocky Horror reference, I kind of associate both crossdresser and transvestite with a fetish. Now, a lot of people would not agree with that. And actually, a lot of crossdressers, I'm sure, wouldn't. They'd say it's about feeling themselves, being relaxed. I've heard a lot of reasons. But again, it's steeped in a history that I'm aware of. So yeah,
it's like the F word, though.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people now that use the F word, and it's sort of celebrated.
Wow. Okay.
But even I don't feel comfortable using it.
Mm-hmm.
I do, however, find I'm not really outraged when people do.
Right. I know someone who's gay who uses it quite regularly as a self-descriptor, and I'm like, well, if you're okay with that, I would never use it, but that's up to them.
It's weird, isn't it? So, but relevant to be useful in language. But I suppose to my point, the reason that you got a bit of hate was because how you present yourself, or
Yes.
your choice in how you present yourself. I mean, I have not upset people lots. It has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it has probably happened where I haven't, well, no, it definitely will have happened, where I don't realise it's happened. Someone's smiled and then they've gone home and they're like, well, I didn't quite like that comment that she made about my shoes or my blouse or whatever. I think I can name on one hand the number of times I've actually made people cry. But I think in each occasion, when I look back at what I said, although better words could have been used or stronger jokes could have been used, there was nothing where I thought, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. That was awful. Of course I deserved it. Sometimes you can just push a button that you don't realise is there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Martha Netflix thing is quite funny. But that takes me back to the conversation we had a number of weeks ago about the whole...
I was about to say.
Gemma Collins.
Yes.
The Peter Kay... or who was it he compared it to? Wasn't it one of the Dingles?
It was someone who was large, who isn't large anymore, but everyone knows them for being large. I can't remember.
Was it Lisa Riley?
Yes, I think it was Lisa Riley.
Yeah, that's it. And they're assuming it's a fat joke. So if you're feeling sensitive about your weight and you get that, you might assume it's a fat joke. That could be the other thing. But what's really awkward, and I think is so fabulous about it, is that when you continue to have a gig, and you still got to be there for hours,
Got to live with your
and
consequences.
the damage has been done, and you're going to have to sit through and watch what's happened.
Can you imagine if this happened in the context of a private party, like a hen do? And,
Oh my God.
and you destroy the mother or the hen unintentionally, and they're like, "We paid for you. You're staying for the next hour."
I mean, those things do happen. When I started with Dream Boys, I was given a lot of briefs around do not upset the brides because it's their special day. And I think when I started, I took that a bit too literally, and I was like, oh, I don't feel like I can upset any of them. They're all going to be on TripAdvisor. But eventually I was like, I don't feel like I can be me either.
No.
So I have to find a way of being me without being too visceral. Because they are, they're large groups of 20, 30 women, and you upset one and all of a sudden it's a fucking nightmare. So rather than saying, what were you thinking when you left the house looking like that? I might say, you happy with your hair like that? Okay, good. And I'll just plant a little seed. But I want to be me, but I genuinely don't want to upset anyone.
No, I mean, because that's not the point of entertainment, is it? I think there's a difference then when you have to get into issues, and I haven't had too much of issues of crowd control. So if someone is being obnoxious and no one else is doing anything about it, and you have to shut it down, what I've done in comedy shows before, which has happened before, like my show last year. I think there was one in New Mills. I've done it in another place as well. They're a bit drunk, a couple of them, and they've come in a bit drunk. And they are chatting at the bar as the show starts. And in this particular case, I say bar. It was part of a room that was privately hired. It's not a pub people are coming in and out of. And I literally just shout at them and tell them to sit down and be quiet. I don't. I've got video of it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so like an angry teacher or something. It's in fun, but I don't pick on them personally. I don't make a reference about how they look or anything. I literally pull out that they're talking and they're far too loud and the show has started, and I will just basically call them out and embarrass them until they sit down. And sometimes, it goes down quite well because obviously if they're chatting at the bar, sometimes they're completely oblivious to the fact I've been doing it for 30 seconds. So everyone is then in on the jokes. I'm like, everybody all together now, Kate, sit the fuck down. And then she hears it and it's kind of funny. But yeah.
You have to have the audience with you in that circumstance, don't you? I mean, generally, you would only do that when you know the audience are with you, and that's why it works. I think that thing can work really successfully, but I just don't. I don't like going out my way to make anyone feel uncomfortable. And I was looking at a venue owner that I won't name because it will narrow it down very quickly. Who was posting on Facebook the other night that he had hired a drag queen who spent the entire night slagging him off on stage to the extent that he left. And it was his own party celebration that he'd hired this drag queen for as a special occasion because he doesn't often hire drag queens. And she'd insulted him to such an extent that he decided to leave his own party. And there were fans of this drag queen that were posting in the comments, oh, you were really funny, you were really funny, you were really funny.
Yeah.
But if it's at the expense of really pissing off your booker, I don't know. I wasn't there to know whether he's being overly sensitive or whether the collateral damage was worth it. But you just I think that's the thing about a jibe. When I don't mind the sport of someone saying things like, "Oh, Ginger singing, that's a stretch," or obviously Ginger's going to be doing backflips and dancing, or can she possibly? Because we know she's a fat cunt. I'm all right with the sport.
Yes.
But if you get to the point that you have made the person cry, is it that the person's being overly sensitive, or is it that actually maybe you're not friends enough with that person?
Yeah. And actually, overly sensitive is a funny word because people have different sensitivities. And, there are some, I've met a few who are far too easily offended. Bit of a judgment there, but you have to be so careful. But on the whole, there are plenty of people who might come across as overly sensitive, but maybe your joke hit a nerve, and it could be something you're completely unaware of. I've seen this is very unrelated, really, but I've seen a few jokes on Facebook which are about Russell Brand. And, and on the whole, they've been well received, but occasionally I've seen a comment saying I'd find this funnier if he hadn't attacked my friend, and it's like that's an unknown. And so,
I mean, there are victims, and that isn't funny. What's funny, it's not funny, it's joyous to see him being brought to account. Tragedy plus time equals comedy, and I suppose for some people it's a bit fresh.
Yeah.
But I think, it's what's going on in the background that's also really relevant. I had this is a bit of a different example, and I'll move on after this because I may be really going off the rails here. But I did a gig where they were asking me to do the sound for the drag queens. I won't name the venue.
Mm-hmm.
People who are listening will maybe know where it is, but they occasionally ask me to stick around and do the sound for the other drag queens who don't like doing their own sound, or maybe aren't as good at doing their own sound, or for whatever reason choose not to do their own sound. And I will stick around, and for a bit of extra cash, I'll be like, yeah, I'll do some extra sound. And as it happened on this particular occasion, I couldn't do the sound because I had to run off and do another gig, and I had to get home.
Mm-hmm.
And they were putting 2 and 2 together and getting 17 that I just don't like that particular drag queen, and that's the reason that I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And then they were trying to wind us both up, being like, oh, you won't do sound for her. And they're winding her up, saying she won't do sound for you. And then we ended up with this bit of a confrontation when we were in the crossover. We didn't say anything to one another, but it was a bit tense, where it was like, ignoring one another, and they were desperately trying to force me to stay because they wanted to have this sort of pressure cooker tension that they'd been winding us both up to put us on stage. And I was like, look, A, no means no. I can't be here, so stop fucking asking. B, we ain't mates, right? So anything that comes out is just going to be a bit too real.
Yes.
And I think, if I wanted to stay, or if I needed the money, or even if I could have stayed and the venue really needed it, I'd have done it, but I couldn't. And I think this is one of those things where actually sometimes people want to salivate in drama. And I'm like, that drama only works if you're funny. If I'm slagging you off, we're friends.
Yes.
I would expect to get away with more than I would do someone who wasn't.
There was some light banter in Dragadoo last year as the changeovers and whatnot. So it was fine.
And I think it wasn't. I can't remember anything that I said, but
well, it hurt me dearly, and I'm hanging on to every word.
I mean, you sort of gave as good as you got from memory.
Of course, yes.
But that's the sport, and we like each other.
Yes.
So it's fine in that context.
I seem to remember you accused me of being cheap. I accused you of wearing the backdrop. It's that.
Were both allegations proven? Probably.
Oh dear. But I get what you mean. It's tricky. Where were we? We need to round. Oh, because we've just been off about awful gigs. Yes. It always comes back to awful gigs on this podcast.
The awful gig podcast.
Yeah. Oh,
my life, Monday through Sunday.
let's quickly wrap because we're going to be strict here. Don't worry, we're all right for time because I'm going to edit loads of stuff out. But the internet's fun. I've been on Cameo. I'm going to mention that Cameo's been an experience this week. as anyone who's following knows, I have done well this week on the Cameo, and I have made videos of them for general release, which we will see over time. That there was my favourites. Like I had a lady who the only information I was told was she's turning 45 and really loves pugs. So I did a parody of Addicted to Love called Addicted to Pugs, and it was about pugs, which was
That's
fun.
excellent.
She liked that. Then what do I have? Oh, she's self-disclosed, so self-identifying super fan. Valerie from Edinburgh, her girlfriend ordered up a song based on the Bible. And I was like, because only I know this, is Valerie has a degree in RE, and there's a constant joke between them that she's going to become a vicar, and I don't think she is, but she might. So that was a bit more literal. I did who are the baddies?
Lesbian.
Who are the biggest baddies in the Bible, Old Testament versus New Testament? And of course, it's to Lady Gaga's Judas, which is so don't even need to change the title, the lyric, which you normally change, but the rest of it is all, things about King Herod and Pharisees and stuff. I know my Bible, which was fun. Then my favourite, which I told you just off air, someone posted, they're American, they said, be fun. It's like, here's $9, be fun. I was like, would you like me to qualify more about being fun? I can be fun. And it's like, be wacky, be yourself. So I sang Filler, which you might know, one of my songs.
She's full of filler.
That's the one. She seemed to like that. I got a good review, so that was nice. And then the last one, which I really like, is young people, because they're at uni. It was like, my mate is, I think it's his birthday, and my mate is well known in university for being really well hung. Can you put that in the post? And we are massive fans of Meal Deal. That's what I liked about it. And so I said, it's great your birthday's around Easter, because I heard Jesus was really well hung too.
Oh, nice.
So it's my most offensive joke I've ever got. And I tell it every Easter. And then as I'm grinning, I play Meal Deal over the background and do a little dance. So yeah, that's been fun. I've made over 20 quid this week on Cameo after all deductions. And well done, everyone. You went through the website, not the app. I made more money. So someone is listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of Leicester. What else were we going to talk about?
Well, we have some choices, because we can extend to talk about that certain TV program, or we could save it, and we can talk about what we're up to next. What do you think?
I'm open to talking about Adolescence.
Fair enough. Let's do it then. Why not? What did you make of it?
So what's fascinating to me is how much politicians are being asked whether they've watched it. Because it's almost like it's really hit hearts and minds. This one feels a bit like the Royal Mail drama. Or the Post Office drama. Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. versus the Post Office.
Yeah. I should distinguish that the Royal Mail and the Post Office are two different things. But anyway,
the Royal Mail is King Charles. Oh, yeah.
There we go. But I think I can totally understand if you're a parent why you'd watch it and think this is fucking terrifying. Like, what are your kids up to? This could happen to you at any point. You could get a knock on the door, and you sort of have to surrender yourself to this grueling legal process, and the sort of conveyor belt of how it happens very quickly. I think that first episode really is very captivating, of just how fast it all happens, from barricading the door to going to the police station to doing the interviews, getting the duty solicitor, the strip search. It's all done very it gives you a peek behind the curtain, which I always find really fascinating. I think it's really good. I think it opens up loads of different conversations for different people about misogyny, parental controls of online behavior, knowing where your kids really are, relationships that people have with sex. I think it's a really good piece of work. And as someone who doesn't have kids, it probably doesn't impact me in the same way that people who do.
Mm-hmm.
But as a drama and as a conversation starter, I think it's doing a really fab job, and I totally understand why people are talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it reinforced to me why I never wanted to be a secondary teacher. Oh my God. The episode in the secondary school. And my brother is. And I was like, okay. I mean, we talked about it, but I'm like, is it really like that? He's like, I'm going to go and watch that and I'll let you know. And, but yeah, it raised so many issues. I like the way it was shot. I like the way it was done, like, obviously in one take effectively, because although it could feel occasionally a bit slow, that wasn't a bad thing. I watched it with Anna, and it meant we actually talked about the issues while it was panning around and things like that. And the sort of the issues it's raising around the manosphere, which is this terrifying entity, and it's getting. I've seen a lot of follow up around this program, like from TikTok, and obviously I don't receive any of the sort of stuff that the boys seeing, because it is teenagers, and I'm not down that rabbit hole, and so I don't see this stuff. So that was illuminating, and learning about. I mean, I don't even know the meaning of these emojis. I felt very much like the boy's dad a lot of the time, and the police officer who, the father talking to his son when his son explains things from Instagram, and I'm just like, okay, so I was aware that these things had meanings, but I didn't know what. And I like the fact that I said this off air as well, that like, unlike, say, the Bank of Dave 2, which I tried to watch recently, which tries to raise issues around payday lenders, it felt very much like they shoehorned in information to tell you about that stuff, whereas Adolescence is raising issues in a very natural way that doesn't feel like it's being shunted in like some
like
kind of schools program where they're trying to, highlight an issue. It feels like it is actually a film that is engaging you as a piece of entertainment, but also simultaneously informing you, not the other way round. Information masquerading as entertainment or being done really badly.
I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really good piece of art. I think, it has an authenticity that the Bank of Dave 2 does not.
No.
I absolutely never want children and would never want to work in a school. So if I needed reinforcing, it definitely did that job too. I think it's been a really interesting conversation topic, and I really like actually that these TV programs do come up in the House of Commons, because in the whole post office one started up conversations about where are we with this. And I think this one, Kemi Badenoch was getting a grilling for refusing to watch the drama the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a bit of that that's really refreshing, actually, and the sort of power and reach of television and what it can do for social lives and politics. I think is really, really fabulous.
What it highlights to me, is that some of the things he's dealing with at school are things that I'm sure you dealt with, I dealt with. Like, you can go to school and at 13 you're like, oh, why is it there's like, this is the class, you talk about 80-20, and you can feel like at school, like, oh, all the inverted commas good looking girls are going after the good looking boys, and what about the rest of us? And it's terribly unfair, and I'm really cross. And people pick up guitars and write songs about it. Whereas now they believe it's actually a conspiracy theory. and that actually this is a thing that is premeditated, it's orchestrated, it's part of the system. It's leading to. I learned this. I heard about this off a TikTok, which was sort of discussing. It was talking about this concept of the longhouse, where men are all worried. Well, are saying that actually the world is being run by feminine rules and feminine ways, like gossip and social isolation, which was touched upon in Adolescence about how she's giving barbed comments online and basically calling him an incel. Involuntary celibate.
Yes.
And I'd understood incel culture to be around like the horrific irony of incels apparently believing that, the inverted commas again, it's all this couch thing that good looking, the best women are only interested in a certain type of man and they should be punished for that. Yet the incel themselves believes they should be dating those women. And it's like, so what you really are saying is you want to be in that top 20% that you conceive. And because you don't feel you're in that top 20%, you want to punish those who you perceive are, which
That's
is
wild.
so mad because
Wild.
you're not actually talking about like everyone having a chance. It's actually it's a reverse elitism. You want to get rid of them so you can replace them, which is so bizarre. If you actually think about it, like there's no logic to it whatsoever, and it will never resolve itself. And it just makes young men and women, but young men in particular, really angry because there's older men, Andrew Tate, justifying it and saying you're right. And guess what? It works in the real world too. Look at when you're older and like all these women in control, and you're like, I don't remember any of the billionaires behind Trump being a woman, but let's like forget that for the minute. It's and then we end up in the culture wars. And maybe Kemi Badenoch is avoiding talking about it because she tacitly supports the culture wars. She thinks it's good for the Tories, even though there's no evidence it was. They tried it at the election, it failed horribly. And if it's going to work for anyone, it's going to work for Reform. Like you won't get a bit of glory by being more like Reform. If people are thinking like that and manipulated into thinking like that, they're going to vote for the real deal, not the knockoff. So
I think it's a wild piece of TV. I think, I'm really, I love anything that gets behind the hearts and minds of people and gets people talking. Let's not talk about it this week, but I want to talk about Big Brother next week.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm aware. I don't watch it, but I'm aware of it. Yes, I remember.
Yes, I'm not fully up to speed, so bear with, caller. But I want to bring it up. However, we should wrap up because we're trying to get more less onto 3-hour episodes. So, what have you got coming up? What do you want to promote?
Future plans. As I say, Wednesday is a write-off because no one will. You guys out there, it'll have happened. So if you did come to Sheffield, thank you very much. If you didn't, tough. So then, come Friday, Saturday, I have got a birthday for a 19-year-old and a 22-year-old, followed by a hen do. So you can't see me. And then the next week, where am I? So I've got my quiz, as ever, on Thursdays, every Thursday, 24th of April being the most pertinent one there. And then Bop and Bingo are at Chapel House in Denton on the 25th. And then I am back at my regular, lovely pub, the Mickerbrook in Cheadle, which is Stockport area, on the Saturday. And I have created a new music bingo because when you return to venues and return, you have to keep making new stuff. So we have new music bingo, we have new games, I have new prizes. So that's exciting because that's more stuff to try. And then I will just punt right into the future. 2nd of May, gosh, it's close. At 10 p.m. Secret Diary of a Bingo Cool Girl is at Lancaster Comedy Festival at the Jailers Barrel. You can pay what you want, but you should book tickets in advance because they are now going and you won't be able to get in unless you've reserved a seat. And I don't mean that because I don't trust randoms. I mean it will be sold out. And then I take Saturday off. That's nice. And Sunday, Bop and Bingo are at Mavericks in Huddersfield, which must mean it's the bank holiday if we're doing that on a Sunday. And that is me. Over to you.
I am on Thursday, which will have been and gone at High Wycombe doing bingo. Friday, when this comes out, I'm going to be at the Tavern in Denstone for a debut, which is a bit too close to Walton Towers. So if you've been thrown up on the rides, you can come and throw up and see me on Friday night. Saturday night, I have Dream Boys. Sunday, I'm at the Flying Handbag. I was working on Monday, but I've chosen to take it off because I just think 4 days in a row is enough.
Yes, I think it is.
And then, things to plug. 12th of June, Leicester, I'm at the Blackbird doing Ginger's Problem Area preview. On the 19th of June, I'm at Bar Pop doing Ginger's Problem Area preview. And on the 25th of June, I'm at the Two Brewers in Clapham doing Ginger's Problem Area preview. And at that point, if the show's not ready, we're fucked. So, follow me. If you have lots of money, give to my new Gumtree, not Gumtree.
That's old school. Does Gumtree still exist?
I don't know if it still exists. That's a good conversation for another day. I have my new crowdfunder. Send me money. That'd be lovely. To help with the Fringe. Buy tickets, or better yet, buy tickets to see me in July and /August in Edinburgh Fringe, because it would be flipping amazing to come to an already sold out row. But this has been fabulous. We've been very efficient. I've enjoyed it. And I look forward to talking to you again in a fortnight. We're at every other Friday without fail. We've been really awesome at that. We've done basically a year's worth of podcasts.
We have. We
congratulations.
Well done.
We're still going. Well
still
done.
Here.
And thank you to every single person that listens. Shout out to the regulars. Shout out to the irregulars. Follow us. Leave us 5-star reviews on the podcast. Tell us what you want to hear, and we'll see you again. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bring me to queer.